If we can call this meeting to order, first we'll have the invocation by our city manager, Andy Pasmont, and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Fred Sykes. Can you please rise?
God of holiness and righteousness, we thank you for the blessings that you provide to us each day of our lives. We thank you for our families and our loved ones. We ask that you guide our footsteps so we may act in accordance with your wishes and forgive us when we fall short of those expectations. Watch over those that are weak in spirit and strengthen them. Grant our leaders the knowledge to act in the manner which is pleasing to you. And may heavens and the earth always declare your glory forever and ever. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge to the flag of our nation. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor, Chairman Toohey.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem, Vice Chairman Lane. Councilmember Commissioner Herford.
Here.
Councilmember Commissioner Sanderson. Councilmember Commissioner Sykes.
Here. Report out of closed session. Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Members of the City Council, the record should reflect that the City Council convened this evening for discussion of the items that were listed on the agenda, that prior to recessing into closed session, the items that are listed under conference with labor negotiators, the various employee groups were announced, and same with the public employment position. The record should further reflect that the City Council, with the three members that are present, were present in closed session. And the following is my report. Under conference with labor negotiators, the various employee groups is listed on the agenda. The city's negotiators provided a briefing to the City Council on these items. There was no final action taken in any of these items, and there's nothing further to report. Under public employment, Government Code Section 54957, the city manager's position, the City Council did receive a briefing on this item. There was no action taken in closed session. There is an item on your open agenda that will need to be addressed this evening. That concludes my report from closed session. It is appropriate to continue with the open portion of the meeting at this time.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Changes to the agenda.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, you have two items that have corrections for the PERS resolutions that are before you for item 12 and item 14. So those should be in front of you in the dais, and that's all I have, just those two items.
No problem. And before we go to presentations, I wanted to bring up, because I know most of the crowd here is for CGM, so I'm going to make some announcements prior to oral communication. At this time, when we conduct the public hearing regarding the southeast corner of West Covina Parkway and West Garvey Avenue, item number 17, I will be requesting the Council's consensus to move forward item number 18, disposition and development agreement with CGM Development, so we may consider and discuss the two related items simultaneously. Anyone wishing to speak on either of these two items will have the opportunity to speak after the public hearing is opened. You will be allowed to speak only once on the combined items for no more than 5 minutes. We will now conduct the oral communication portion of our agenda on all matters listed on the agenda. Well, I'm going to skip that portion. We're going to open up this one. I have a couple of requests, and some of the residents who I spoke to, one of them was Blanca Vinzer. I said this meeting was noticed for this item, and to continue to any other date legally required by state law, we would have to get the consensus from the developer upon that. That's how state law is written. We do not have a full council tonight. Mayor Pro Tem Sherry Lane had a major medical issue yesterday, and she's been released now from the hospital. Councilwoman Sanderson will not be here till 8:30, and I don't want to hold up the things. They requested that the item be held over. We cannot do that independent of ourselves, so I'd like to request and then have our staff make some comments first, then have Pei Ching Lee come forward with a request I'm about to make. Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the Council. As the Council is aware, and just to make the public aware, the items that are before you, and actually I think it's 18 and 19, these do involve certain land entitlement requests which are quasi adjudicatory or judicial in nature. Therefore, the reason that the staff is requesting that a full council be present is because of the fact that if this matter is either started tonight or held over to a future date, they would have to go back, listen to all the testimony, review the tapes, and it is generally the better process and better practice that this matter be heard once with all council members being present. It is my understanding that the applicant, the applicant is willing to request this matter be held over to the date of January the 10th. That is a non-scheduled meeting, so that this one item can be handled in totality at that one occasion. And I just want to confirm if...
Mr. City Attorney, I have not heard that, so if we could have
Sure.
the applicant come forward and make sure that is acceptable.
Yes, that is acceptable by the applicant.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Mr.
Mayor,
City Attorney.
what would be appropriate, and I know there are a number of people who wish to speak to this item, again, it's best practices. It's sort of like if you have a judge hear a case, and if you have two of the judges not present, if you start to provide testimony, they will have to, they won't get quite the same impact of the testimony that they would if they were present in the room. It's, of course, the council's discretion whether or not you want to hear testimony tonight. If you do hear any testimony, an individual who speaks tonight would not be able to address the council again because they've had that opportunity at the January 10th meeting if the council so continues the matter to that date. The request from staff would be is to open the public hearing for purposes of continuing the matter to January 10th. And again, that's at the discretion of the council.
I need to hear a motion on that.
Let me just say,
Or comments? Go ahead.
I did receive letters and phone calls from people asking, because of the holidays, that this item be held over. I'm prepared to act tonight, but in the spirit of Christmas and Hanukkah and all the other holidays we celebrate this time of year, I have no problem holding this item over.
Mr. Councilmember Sykes.
I agree with Councilmember Herford that we have had a number of contacts regarding this issue, and the public wants to continue this, so I agree we should do that.
So, Mr. Mayor, then it would be appropriate to entertain a motion at this to open up the public hearing for purposes of entertaining the motion to continue.
Can I get a motion, please?
Do you need to open the public hearing
Oh, I
first?
think the chair
Oh,
is...
okay, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing.
And this is on 18 and 19. It would be appropriate to entertain a motion to continue both of those items to January the 10th in these council chambers at 7 p.m.
I'll make a motion to continue this matter to January 10th.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It passes 3-0. And before I go down, we do have one presentation. We'll get to that, Adrian. I wanted to make sure the public, and I know Jeff Anderson may be here to speak on this, explain how this process works. We still have, the staff had to make judgments, and they can speak on their judgments, what they make. The one was to send the notice out and have the meeting this week, or send the notice out the week of Christmas, and staff, City Hall be closed down next week and not be able to answer questions. And we thought that was, or they thought that was not responsible. That's why it was heard like this to this date. No matter what you do, I know in this process that you were deemed wrong no matter what. But to me, to get the public notice during this week and then expect people to attend, and a number of you have phoned and sent letters, but there would be no one at City Hall to answer those calls or respond to your concerns. We would have been accused of not being there to respond to you during that time. And unfortunately, we've had issues for many years when you cancel meetings, because normally we would have canceled this council meeting in general. We've been attacked before by not having council meetings. And this is a problem sometimes because certain council meetings fall during certain holidays. One of them is always on Election Day, and the other one is late in the holiday season. So I just want to tell you from that is still done by staff, not us, so if Jeff Anderson can follow up on that.
And also, I should note, Mr. Mayor, if there's anybody who is either watching or is present this evening, if they do wish to present any comments in writing, they still will have the opportunity to do so between now and the date of the 10th, or anyone who wishes to be present at that time to comment and provide their public testimony, they will have an opportunity at that time also.
No problem.
Well, I'll go through the
Jeff
timeline
Anderson.
a little bit to help everyone understand. It's on, yes. To help everyone understand what the process is, the Planning Commission reviewed the item on November 22nd, 2011, and it denied it at that time. The applicant appealed on December 1st. Our municipal code says that any appeal hearings must be held within 45 days of the date of the appeal. That means we needed to hold a hearing by January 14th. 2 council meetings fell into that time period, which is December 20th and January 3rd. And as has been discussed, the January 3rd meeting was a problem because it's the first day that City Hall will be open for about a week, and so it wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been appropriate to schedule something where the public wouldn't have an ability to get information from staff. So it was that reason we decided to schedule for December 20th.
No problem. Thank you. Is there any other council member that has questions of staff on this? We will drop down to presentations. If I can have Adrian Williams please come forward, General Manager of Big League Dreams.
Go ahead. I'll wait.
Yeah, for those in the audience that came for items number 18 or 19, that will not be heard tonight. The council has held it over to January 11th. So if you're January 10th, 2012, January 10th, 2012, in these council chambers at 7 p.m. So you're welcome back at that time. Thank you.
This is no reflection on Adrian.
Yeah. Got pneumonia. Yeah.
We're here today. Is the mic on? We're here today to recognize one of our partners here, the general manager of Big League Dreams, who is very tragic and unfortunate to announce that he's going to their newest ballpark, Big League Dreams Paris. The county of Riverside is opening up Big League Dreams in each and every supervisor district they have, and this is the second one they have in their district. And unfortunately, our loss is Paris's gain. I know Chris is going to do well. Sorry, Chris. But truly, Adrian, you've almost been with us from the beginning there, and the success we've had there, almost 375,000 people visit that a year. The numbers are staggering. It's our number one tourist attraction we have in the city, and it's really due to your heart and passion. We've had the pleasure to work with you this recently on a toy drive where we raised over 3,000 toys for kids with cancer, and it's just tremendous what Big League Dreams went to and what you did personally. So on behalf of the City of West Covina, the City Council is pleased to recognize Adrian Williams for his outstanding service to the community as General Manager of West Covina Big League Dreams from 2007 to 2011. Congratulations, Adrian. Why don't you say a few words, because I know you're a man with many words. So,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank you and the council, city staff, as I've shared with Chris, who will be taking my place here, and I'll introduce him in a moment. This community has been wonderful from the time I arrived and got to know them, and working with them has been great. The support that we've received with Big League Dreams from the staff and council and the community has been just as staggering as the business model we've been able to establish here in the community. So with that said, I would just like to thank you all for your support, and I would also like to introduce Chris Simonson, who will be the new general manager of Big League Dreams West Covina.
that's a much younger, better looking, and skinnier version of myself. Okay, we drop down to oral communications. On the agenda, our first speaker will be Ray Hernandez, and our next person on deck is Tom O'Donnell. Is the mic on, Ray?
Check. Good evening, council members. Merry Christmas, everybody. At the last candidate forum meeting, I brought forth the question of, if elected, would you support on the agenda the restoring of the city council broadcast streaming? The reception was 100% by all candidates. With that being said, I want to thank Mayor Mike Toohey for taking a proactive position and already agendizing this subject. I hope the balance of the council members support this also when it comes up. I believe the time has come to bring this valuable city communication tool, and with today's advanced electronic technologies, this city can reach all residents other than cable TV subscribers through internet streaming. It's my understanding that a survey was taken of all San Gabriel Valley cities with more than 100,000 population, and West Covina is the only city not providing live broadcasting of city council meetings in that population ratio. To bring to your attention, my nephew works for the city of Signal Hill, and this is where I get this information from. They actually negotiated with Charter Communications a no-cost cable and network broadcast. And this was through a third medium called MCSI Media that administers all the broadcasting and maintenance for them. So there's opportunities out there to bring this back with minimum cost or no cost at all. I feel confident of that. I do understand there are factors that are budgetary, but I think we can meet these goals if staff reviews this and see what's out there and how to do it. I think it's out there. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ray. Tom O'Donnell and Joanne Wilner on deck. Tom?
Good evening, City Council. I want to thank you very much for allowing me to speak this evening about Adrian Williams, who's been largely responsible for us enjoying a whole lot of softball for the West Covina Senior Softball League. I'm a volunteer down there, and I help coordinate the activities and things along that side. I'd like to say a few words about Adrian Williams, if you'd permit, and I'll make it very short and very brief. It's only fitting and proper to express our feelings toward Adrian Williams. The reason being is we want to show, obviously, our gratitude toward him for his wisdom, for his open-door policy, and his commitment to the community. The areas I want to explore or bring to your attention primarily are with the girls softball club, or league rather. As you know, there are many thousands of our children out there that play girls softball, the coaches and everybody else involved. Well, Adrian spent a lot of time going out and leveling those fields, renewing the fields and getting them all set up for girls softball. He also did the resurfacing on the Little League fields and handled all their tournaments as well as the tournaments for girls softball. In the Senior Softball League, he gave us finely manicured fields, beautiful setup, bases to play on, all properly done. We had the use of the park during the day, so no revenue was necessary from any agency within the West Covina. Very few companies in this day and age that actually get as involved with the community as Big League Dreams did under Adrian's leadership. There's very few that actively participate in community events. Big League Dreams not only participated, it has given the town the exposure it needed to recognize that it really is a sports-oriented city, dedicated to the adult and youth programs that help to unite a city in a common cause of togetherness. I personally wish Adrian the best of luck in the challenges that he now faces, which I know he will be, as usual, very successful. I want to say goodbye, but I'd rather say have a good time, because I know you will. Adrian, the guys got together of the West Covina Senior Softball League, and we decided this is the best way to show our pride for you and to, in a sense, say thank you. I hope you'll accept this. To Adrian, from West Covina Senior Softball League, subject, adios. You will be missed and not forgotten. Tomo has spoken. You'll see all your teams signed in, everybody got it in. We want to thank you very much for all you've done. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you, Tom. Now I feel bad. We didn't get you a shirt, Adrian. I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like to say a few words about Adrian, too. You know, when we opened Big League Dreams, it was a question mark to everybody. There's still people with question marks, but we didn't know if there would be additional crime in the city, and there's been virtually none. We didn't know if alcohol would be a problem up there, and there's virtually been no problems. The maintenance of the facility, it looks as good as it did the day it opened, if not better. The organization of the leagues, the amount of people that play up there, it's either number 1 or 2 in the Big League Dreams organization. They have over 10 facilities around the United States, and West Covina does exceptionally well. And all this leads back to the leader that came in and took over the facility from before day one, and made sure that the construction was adequate enough for Big League Dreams to operate the facilities in the manner they want. If you remember, the city owns the facilities, they're an operator. So the success of that facility has been attributable to Adrian and his staff. It's always important to have a leader that cares about a community. Adrian not only served as the director for Big League Dreams, but he served on our Walk of Fame committee here in the city. And anytime the city requested a day or a time for an event, some of the charitable things, Adrian's been there. We had our sister city come to West Covina a few years back. Adrian opened up the facility to them, and we had a great evening with our sister city. So he's a man behind the scenes, and he likes to remain like that. He's a quiet leader, much like our city manager, who we'll talk about in a few minutes. But Adrian, from my seat, and you know, I've been mayor a few times, and I think I was either mayor or mayor pro tem when the facility opened. I know how valuable you are. I would like to convey that to your bosses, and hopefully you can carry the message back to them. But we are extremely proud in West Covina, and you have a job recommendation for me anytime you want. So thank you so much. We will miss you, but I know Chris, look forward to working with you, and I know you'll do just as well. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we drop down to Joanne Wilner, and on deck will be Bobby Reyes. Bobby?
Good evening, gentlemen. Well, I guess I have a little bit more time than I had expected because I had prepared to speak about item number 19 at this time.
Do you want us to click some minutes on your speech?
Oh, no, I don't think that'll be necessary. But I wanted to add something that I wasn't going to speak on, which is just to thank you for bringing up the getting of us in a visual way for our council meetings, because I think we all should get that back on track. And I also feel that included in that discussion, even hopefully it won't be with a lot of or any additional monies, to get the Planning Commission, like we had it before, included on visual, because I feel the Planning Commission activities can be almost more important than what's coming in at the city council level, and it's the way to get in on the ground floor of what's going on in the city as far as development and planning and zoning, etc. Also, as far as item number 9, the professional service agreements, I feel that city expenditures are high, employee pay rates are stagnant, and income is reduced. And to grant an increase in legal costs at this time, I feel would be irresponsible. As far as number 15, the moratorium, I totally agree that regulations, the development of our hillside vacant lots needs to be reviewed before any new development occurs. I wasn't really aware of all that apparently is the case until I read the report of the staff, and I see we really should look at that because there are too many things that have been probably grandfathered into activities and development that would occur there. So that's only 2.5 minutes, and I'll hopefully maybe be able to gather those extra ones at the next meeting. Thank you.
I'm not sure on that, but Bobby Reyes and John Shoemaker on deck. You're passing? Okay. Then Forrest Wilkins on deck.
Good
Go ahead,
evening,
Bobby.
distinguished members of the City Council, Mayor Tuhi. This is in regard to the development standards for, as mentioned in item 15. I would like to invite the attention of the City Council and the city officials on the 60 Minutes program last Sunday, where it showed the city of Cleveland demolishing foreclosed houses and turning them, the properties, into green spaces. Now, we can probably do the same in the city of West Covina and do more. Because if we can offer to corporate America a deal to naming rights, sirs. Like, remember the Lakers and the Clippers play in a stadium that is called Staples Center. Staples pays millions of dollars for the name. So, and there are legal precedents actually, like American Express converted its loans to Costa Rica in exchange for maintaining forests in the country. Since West Covina is so-called Tree City USA, probably we can ask, for instance, Chevron or American Express or Shell to pay the city to plant more trees and maintain the trees. I think that is worthwhile, and we are trying now to contact interested corporations probably to talk with the city. Because I think instead of selling portions of parks like what the city has done before in our place near Shakespeare, probably the city could have just sold the naming rights and earn more in the longer run. The naming rights now is a big business, and if your distinguished members of the City Council can look into that and inform the planning department of the possibility, then the city will have more than enough revenues. For instance, like very, very few go to Gulfstar Park. We can convert that into like an Exxon lung of the world, or just a name that can give more revenues to the city. And the city retains, of course, the land. So that is my message, and we will submit a formal proposal on that, Your Honors. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Forrest, I want to make sure the lots that are in question aren't owned by the city. They're owned by South Hills Estates, which is Ziad Al-Hassan. They're his lots. They're not city-owned lots. Forrest. And I'm sorry, Bruce Leinbach on deck. Bruce.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. The day after the last council meeting, I received numerous phone calls thanking me for identifying Athens Trash Company for funding that hit piece with a gun. One example of how a gun is used in a crime: bad guys use a gun to inflict force or fear in order to make money, take money from a victim. A gun is used to inflict force or fear. Athens' fingerprints are all over that hit piece, from the ID number on the return address to conversations I have had with the mail order house that mailed it out and the postmaster in San Dimas. When a business does not provide satisfactory service to a customer, the customer takes his business elsewhere. Athens did not serve the citizens of West Covina by funding that hit piece with a gun. So, first, we need to stop the Evergreen contract. We do that by notifying Athens before the next council meeting. The city is ending the Evergreen contract, which expires in March of 2023. Second, Athens can admit to no wrong for their employee or subcontracted employee and make a generous contribution to the 3 service clubs that serve our community. And third, I'll be happy to report to the City Council that Athens has started to correct their political misdirection. This issue will not go away until Athens takes appropriate action. $50,230 is a lot of money that Athens has given to successful and unsuccessful candidates for West Covina Council in the last 2 city elections. Thank you.
Thank you, Forrest. Bruce Leinbach.
Yeah, I went skiing today, and I was up in the mountains, and I took my Tribune with me, and I opened the paper that says, "City manager retires." I got a shock. You know, Andy, we're going to miss you. You've done a great job. Appreciate your leadership as city manager. You've been a great asset. When people, you know, whenever you talk to people about their concerns, you talk on their level. You don't talk down, and you always keep your cool. I've never seen you ever get mad at anybody. You may do after the meeting's over, maybe you may say a few, but you've always kept your cool and your calmness and your composure. And we're really going to miss you, because I feel you've been one of our better city managers. And I really appreciate what you've done to us. Also, I'm a member of Lions Club. I'm real involved in the fundraiser, night in the town.
What club is that?
Huh? Whatever. Lions. So, but Andy, the last 4 or 5 years, We've always had a lot of our meetings for it, a lot of meetings involved in it. We have it at the City Hall. Andy helps assist in the directing it and giving his input or whatever, but he's instrumental in making that successful. So I know, Andy, that you're welcome to come back and keep on working for us. Okay, another thing I want to talk about is my West Covina Bulldogs. I played football when I was in high school. I remember as a senior, we played 8 games. I got 64 tackles. I remember that. It was one of my great experiences, and I've always been a rabid football fan, even now. I would go to the high school games, watch the high school football on TV, and I haven't missed a West Covina football game in 22 years. I watch a lot of the pros, a lot of the college, so I'm a rabid football fan. But the victory of West Covina did was, here's what it says: unstoppable. West Covina won 84-21. They set the record for the most points in a game in a championship, and I've never seen anybody dominate a team like this. And I was watching the game, and with 6 minutes to go in the second quarter, the score was 49-7. 49-7, unbelievable. And we eventually we ended up getting 84 points. They took they took all the starters out with about 10 minutes to go in the game, and then they didn't run the clock, so they couldn't have made it worse. But I'm real proud of what they've done, and we got a great team here. I got some passing over to the city council. I think you were on Andy. And here, who went to Chris there? He went to Damien. So we won't take that against him. But I'm really proud. I think you were at the game, weren't you, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great game. They had a great banquet. So I'm real appreciative of West Covina. I think next year we're going to have a great team too. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And go Bulldogs. And Andy, sorry to see you leave. Thank you.
That concludes our oral communication. Bruce, yes, I was at that game, and I think people not being there, you know, it was within the first 5 plays almost, or the West Covina High only had the 5 plays in the first quarter. It was already 28-0. They weren't throwing the ball, so we've had some friends of ours that are council members in Whittier said we ran up the score. They only touched the ball like 14 times, but they scored on almost every time they touched the ball. So I don't know what else to do besides take a knee and kneel, and that's disrespectful to the opposing team. You know, you weren't throwing down the field. But West Covina is great. Right, absolutely. But I mean, I know Chris, the quarterback, is a wrestler on the wrestling team, and I've known his mother for many years. She's the council secretary for the city of Baldwin Park. And Chris Solomon and Jimmy Frazier are this great kids, and they're going to have bright futures in colleges based on their running skills. Okay, we drop down to, thank you, Councilwoman Sanderson is now here. I made the announcement. I know you were going to be here between 8 and 8:30. You got here slightly earlier than
Thank you. I apologize. My son has bronchitis, and my husband's 6 hours away and was driving home, so I apologize for being late. I tried to get here as quickly as I can.
Thank you. We drop down the consent calendar. Is there any council member wishing to remove an item on the consent calendar? If not, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve consent.
Second.
Moved by Herford, second by Sanderson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 4-0. The public hearings 18 and 19 were held over to the January 10th meeting, a special meeting on January 10th. So we go down to AB 1234 conference and meeting reports. Is there any council member having a conference to report? Seeing or hearing none for AB 1234 reports, we drop down to the request from Mayor Michael Toohey for doing webcasting. That is something, and I want to make sure that, even though someone said that, I forgot which person said that, it's, in fairness, all 4 candidates said they would support that during the debate, and it was brought up to them by Ray Hernandez, so it's not my credit at all. So I just happen to be the one that agendized it, but all 4 candidates did state that during the debate they would be willing to do webcasting, so I want to make sure it's quite evident. We want to look at webcasting. I have no problem looking at doing planning commission meetings based on that type of technology. It is quite different than with a cable broadcast, which you have seen in the past, where the cameras move around and take an actual production person to shift the cameras on you. Webcasting is a stationary camera, which is done at the Tribune. They have a sportscast like that also. So that's what I'm asking for the city to do, a webcasting with a stationary camera, and I have no problem doing planning commission meetings either. Or both, I should say. Not.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any comments? Or Councilmember Fred Sykes?
The technology, will that be only confined to the internet? It will not be an attachment for people who have cable?
I don't believe webcasting, that would take a different type of service with Mount SAC to do the cable, and it would only cover charter type cable service. It does not cover DirecTV, Dish, Uvision, whatever the AT&T one is called, or BIOS. It only covers, what you're talking about, that technology would only cover the charter communication type one. This would be available to anyone in the city, all 100% of the households that have computers. I want to emphasize, if you don't have a computer, that's what I understand. I do not believe they can just directly take a webcast and feed it to a cable station.
Right. And also, one of the speakers talked about, I believe it was Signal Hill. Is it possible to have staff check that while they're checking on investigating your web?
I have no problem with that.
Is it possible for them to check to see how Signal Hill is able to do what we did in 208 for, I think you said free?
Well, I have no problem with that. We have a motion and a second. I have no problem with that bringing back. I just want to make sure you understand one thing. A lot of the agreements we had with Charter, what they were required to do, was thrown out by federal and state law that they no longer have a license with the city of West Covina. The state of California took over licensing and removed any city entity from making decisions or having independent contracts with cable companies. So that may be a pre-existing one. I'm not sure. I will check. I know Mayor Ed Wilson there very well from Signal Hill. But I have no problem checking that out and bringing it back when the thing comes back.
Thank you. Then I am on board for that.
Nope. Thank you, Fred. Councilmember Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question in reference to mobile devices. Would it be available on that as well?
That is far above my pay range.
Well, there's my answer.
Just off the top of my head, if you have access to the internet, you would have access to it. But I think it might be a little more difficult to actually get the video feed on your mobile device. Again, it'd be something we'd have to test out if it was something the council approved at the future meeting and see how it was to run. I'm not sure if we have access to it via our mobile devices now. We could try the current system and see how that works too.
So you would need a much more modern phone, possibly.
Well, if you have 4G, you're going to be able to get it on archive at least. So
right.
I guess we'd have to ask the question. I don't know. I still use some paper.
Bring that back.
Processes.
My phone does all that. I'm just not capable of operating it, so it makes no difference, really. I have no problem with bringing that back, too, and looking at it. I'm not sure if it works on mobile devices. So if that can all come back within the motion, if everyone's happy with that, we have a motion and a second. Is that okay with the maker and everybody?
Sure.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 4-0. We drop down to adjournments. Is there anyone who has additional adjournments to make?
Well, can I make a comment before?
Oh, I'm sorry. Council member comments. That was my mistake.
Wanted to talk about our city manager. If you, as Mr. Leinbach did, read the newspaper today, there was a story, I believe today, I think I saw it online yesterday, that city manager Andrew Passman is announcing his retirement. Tonight we approved a contract that will keep him working for the city on an hourly basis. And I just want to say that, you know, I think it was 10 years ago I met Mr. Passman. I'm going to call him Andy. I guess it's easier to say that. But and I learned from pretty much the first moment I met him. First off, he's got a very weak handshake, and I didn't like that, but I overcame that, and I learned what a gentle, honest, sincere individual Andy is. He is the ultimate family man. And I won't go into his history of his family, but he raised a great group of kids. He's married to a beautiful woman. He did this job as a leader of the city with 400 employees and took care of a family that became extended even beyond just his immediate children that he had through birth. He took in people at his house. He has given so much to West Covina, and I think back to all the projects that we've done over the years, all the negotiations we've had, all the litigation, and there's always been one calm person that's been through everything. When hysteria sometimes prevails, Andy's the leader that pulls everybody together. He does a lot behind the scenes that is beneficial to the council. I'm glad we have him for another year, so I'm not going to get too emotional tonight, but I just think we need to recognize his leadership in this city, and West Covina wouldn't be the city it is today, the most business-friendly city, the most environmentally energy-efficient city, and I could go on some of the other things, the most sports-friendly city, the best street maintenance city. I mean, we have all kinds of things we should be proud of, and these are during difficult times, and they're going to get more difficult, and that's part of the reason why we kept them. We wanted to keep him around. He offered to stay, so it's a mutual agreement. But there are some things that are critical for the city of West Covina, and I hope everybody, I know everybody on the council, even Fred, who's dealt with him in Lyons, would probably have accolades too. But I know from the council that all of us that have worked with Andy, I mean, we are so proud of the job you've done for the city, and all we can say is thank you, and we look forward to the next year. And then whatever your future is, I know it's going to be bright, because we were lucky to have you, and we're still lucky to have you for some more time. So thanks, Andy. Appreciate it.
If there's...
I'd just like to say thanks. I've known him for a few years now, and you're absolutely correct. I met him and worked closely with him at the Lions Club, and I want to say thank you. He's been very professional and very helpful for us as an organization. Thank you.
Councilmember Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2000 and I think it was in 2001. Time flies, I guess, when you're having fun. I just can't believe it's gone that course. I remember going through the city manager process, and I echo all the comments that Councilmember Herford had stated, that he's an amazing leader and has again, we talk about our trophy case, and I want to make sure that Andy knows that's a big part of his leadership, and look forward and hope to hang on to you a little bit longer, as long as we possibly can, and I think he knows that, and just, you know, everything. You've just been a great leader for the community, and I look forward to the next year. It's going to be a lot of work for all of us, and just appreciate everything that you've done, and your friendship as well, and being on the Met team. I don't know if all of those you know that Andy works very hard with the Mounted Police team, and that's really important too. So we enjoy all that. So thanks, Andy.
I too concur with everything our fellow council members have said. Andy, I've known you way back when you served in Southgate for Henry, Billy, and Mary Ann Buckles. You were great. They told me very highly, spoke very highly of you when we were recruiting you, and I'll never forget that. Like I said, I don't know if you came. There were some very unfortunate incidents sometimes in Southgate where the mayor of the city was shot in the back of the head and survived. Henry Gonzalez, a tremendous man, and is still a fighter out there, even though he's dealing with a crippling disease that has taken one of his legs, and he's still hanging in there fighting as a very long-serving council member and a tremendous community asset over there. You're definitely, like Steve said, on the one issue, we all know not everyone knows the kid story. You have a lot of kids, and you opened your house up and took in more kids when they needed help, and that was very honorable of you. I probably disagree with you serving in the Lions Club. Frank, right? Rotary? Okay, there's some other there's more than 3 service clubs for us. Want to make sure, because I'll get beat up by my fellow Elks that are here, and the VFW, the American Legion, Seroptimus, but I understand your point, but I'm saying I'll have to pay fines if I show up to those meetings, if I don't bring up those other ones. But clearly, Andy, you've done a great job. City managers normally last 4 years and get fired. I think it's like 4.6 years or something is the life of a city manager. You obviously lasted to, and it may be like dog years. It's 7 years for every year you serve. So I understand you having over 10 years in is like being 70 years in service. Sorry, because I know councils put a lot of the gray hair or remove hair from you, whatever the point may be. But clearly, we're going to still have you around for a little bit, but you truly have been an asset and a blessing. I wish you would have joined Rotary instead, but you were in Lions Club in the community you came from. Sorry, Fred. I know Fred's the president, and there's some Lions members out there. Sorry, Vicki. And Forrest. But we truly are going to appreciate the time you have with us to tide us over where we can stabilize and find another leader that will stay here for a long period of time, because that's the key. Unlike a lot of other cities, most West Covina city managers last for a long time, and there's a big difference between other communities. So thank you for the stability you brought us, and thank you for your service you give us every day. Is there any other comments council members want to add to the agenda or the next agenda?
Just want to say to everybody, as I stated earlier, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa. Be safe, good health in the new year. I think it's been a great year for West Covina, and I think we'll have a great year next year. So all the best to you and your families.
I, too, would want to wish everyone Merry Christmas. Like Steve said, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you may celebrate, to the best to you and your families. I know sometimes cities, it struggles at these meetings. Sometimes it's frustrating. I try to explain to Blanca on the phone sometimes the process we go through. Sometimes we disagree on the process. We still have to go through the process, and she'll say, Fernando, you didn't necessarily say respond to yours. It didn't have a number, so I did get you and Albert's, but I spoke to Blanca, so I didn't think I need to phone you too, Albert. Sorry. But it is just a different process, and sometimes, it's easy. Even this last CMG meeting at the Planning Commission level, we were told by some people that because Planning Commissioner Don Holtz abstained, that he owns the project. And that's very unfortunate when those things are said in letters to us, when they may have abstained because he wasn't comfortable one way or the other way. That isn't, wrong. They have that right. Just because someone abstains doesn't mean that's the issue, or if they vote yes or no. Likewise, they made a comment, some people made a comment about Alan Carrico because he was not there. If they knew what happened to Alan Carrico's mother and why he wasn't here, it's very unfortunate, but those things get said about people, and it's no different sometimes in the seat we sit on. You may not know exactly all the facts, but people are still trying, even when they disagree. There's people on both sides of the issue, but it's unfortunate when they take someone not being here as one thing or the other, or if they vote yes or no. It's easy to paint that picture of people sometimes. That's very unfortunate. But otherwise, hopefully the process will be better. Like I said, I told Blanca we had to get to this point in time and open it up to the person who paid for the hearing, and I greatly respect the letters I have on both sides. We got a number of letters from both sides. One lady has contacted us by mail every other day, and the days we didn't get a physical letter, I got an email from her. So I got her opinion very strongly, but that's part of the process too. I don't know. And I got 9 other letters from her same house, but she only emailed me one time, in fairness to her. And that was none of the people here, I want to make sure. But thank you very much for having us. This is my first meeting, and it's a rough one, and thank you for the, I do wish everyone the best of holidays. We have some other adjournments. If anyone else has adjournments, I have 2 adjournments I must do. Kenneth and Edna Baldwin, parents of our senior citizen commissioner, Gail Mason, passed away, so our thoughts and prayers are with the Masons and the Baldwin families as we adjourn tonight's meeting in their family's memory. And very good friends of ours, Dr. Lee Lau's wife, Candace Lau. Lee was a former president of Rotary and the former president of the Chamber of Commerce. His wife died from her stage 4 cancer last night at 8:30. We were there around 9 o'clock shortly after with Lee, and his daughter. So our hearts and prayers go out to both these people at this time of year. So if I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion. If I could add to that motion, many of you know I work for Southern California Edison, and I would like to remember the victims in the shooting last Friday. It was somewhat of an incredible, horrible day for everybody in the company, as was said on TV by our CEO. Even though we have 20,000 plus employees, we treat the company as family, and it was so emotional to watch everything on TV as it unfolded, and to realize that we knew people inside that building and we didn't know who was shot and who was okay. And as we sort things out, or the company sorts things out, you see things that can happen almost anywhere. These are difficult times, and people get desperate, and whatever this individual who shot the employees had in his mind, I know in my mind that there are people that feel the same way and will do the same thing again. It's almost impossible to stop. I went to work on Monday morning. There was a security guard at every door at Edison in my complex, and I wasn't in the same complex. I was 5 miles from the Irwindale Rivergrade office, but Edison is protecting as much as they can at this point in time, but the world is, sometimes a horrible place, and last Friday was a horrible place for all Edison employees. So just want to remember the families and those members that were victims last week, and let's keep them in our thoughts and prayers, along with the individuals that you've mentioned. So I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Oh, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 We're adjourned at 8:05, and our next regularly scheduled meeting is January 17th, with a special meeting January 10th.